as we call it. My name is Stan Kamzol, and I'm a senior professor at Sheridan's Pilon School of Business. Today, I am pleased and honored to be moderating a panel of students from a number of countries, from Brazil, Kenya, Canada, and the UK, who each bring their own perspective of a recent COIL experience between their school and Sheridan College. Thank you to each and every one that has agreed to participate today. It's this perspective that we as educators and administrators benefit from as we imagine new cross-cultural experiences for our learners. I wish to begin by acknowledging on behalf of Sheridan College the land for sustaining us and providing us with the necessities of life. This territory is covered by the Dish and One Spoon Treaty and the Two Roll Wampum Treaty, which emphasize the importance of joint stewardship, peace, and respectful relationships. As we reflect on land acknowledgements, let us remember that we are all stewards of the land and of each other. We recognize the land on which we gather has been and still is the traditional territory of several indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, the Métis, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Since time immemorial, numerous indigenous nations and indigenous peoples have lived and passed through this territory. Sheridan affirms its collective responsibility to honor the land as we honor and respect those that have gone before us, and those who are, and those who have yet to come. We are grateful for this opportunity of learning, working, and thriving on this land. I also wish to acknowledge the support of Global Skills Opportunity, a program funded by Employment and Social Development Canada, administered jointly by CCAN and Universities Canada. Institutional support across Canada develops and implements international learning opportunities, both at home and abroad. These initiatives help students, especially those that face barriers to participation, to gain confidence and develop valuable intercultural skills by studying or working abroad. At Sheridan, the GSO support is central to our COIL initiatives and to a faculty-led study abroad learning experience. These are all important recognitions as we move forward in today's educational society. I'd like to begin by saying, in addition to coordinating Pilon School of Business's International Mobility Program, I help lead our school's expansion of COIL as a key leg of our internationalization stool. I have worked with a number of my colleagues in shaping a variety of COIL experiences across a number of disciplines. We have pursued with our partners collaborations through joint lectures, simulations, case studies, always providing for ample opportunity for group activity and shared experiences that are core to these adventures for our students. One of the pillars of Sheridan's internationalization and global connectivity strategy is cultivating students who are critical global citizens and change makers. We set a goal of enhancing the internationalization of teaching and learning at Sheridan. One of the main initiatives to address this goal was through the introduction of collaborative online international learning, COIL. This provides an accessible and inclusive internationalization effort for at-home opportunities. Through connecting with our international partners, COIL promises to support students' intercultural fluency, foster global perspectives, and promote the value of critical global citizenship. Diversity of thought is an important takeaway from all of our COIL initiatives. It also allows students who are usually underrepresented in travel abroad, with opportunities to participate that allow for more accessible and inclusive global experiences. Cross-cultural understanding is a key takeaway from COIL-based learning. COIL and the greater understanding of how other communities and individuals perceive issues and solutions is, to me, fundamental as subjects such as ethics, sustainability, and social responsibility. Today, we have a number of students present who will share their experiences, share their takeaways, provide a voice as how their COIL experiences have expanded their comfort zones. It is important to hear what our students say. Shortly, you're going to hear from Laura Beatriz Miranda Martin, a student at the University of Federal de Minas Gerais from Brazil, who participated in a Sheridan class exploring language, learning, and culture. Then we're going to be introduced to Mais Al-Badr from Sheridan College, who is part of that aforementioned COIL experience. Following that, Margaret Merab from the School of Management, Riara University, Nairobi, Kenya, recently completed a COIL program focusing on ethics, sustainability, and corporate social responsibility. She will share with us her takeaways. And following that, Rhys Donlan of Manchester Metropolitan University in the UK, who experienced COIL from the perspective of utilizing collaborative solutions in journalism and its application across cultures. Today's seminar will begin immediately with each of these students giving a general discussion, and then we will move to a series of themes and topics that each of the students will participate in. Throughout the proceedings, we ask that you take a moment to pose questions through chat, and these will become part of our final discussion at the end of the webinar. Firstly, may I introduce Laura. Laura, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Beatriz Miranda Martins. I am an undergraduate biology student from Brazil. And I am also an English teacher. So it might seem that those areas are unconnected, but I do think that there is a lot of connection between learning, language, and also science. Being an English teacher has enhanced my ability to understand and develop texts in the academic field. And it also has taught me a lot of transferable skills like communication, and also one of my biggest passions, that is science communication and popularization. I have taken a course in language and culture and how English relates to the academic field as well. And it has been an amazing opportunity to learn more about how other cultures connect to these topics. And it has also enhanced my perceptivity as a teacher. And I'm very happy to be here and to get to know all of you as well.
Thank you very much, Laura. Mais?
Hello, everyone. My name is Mais Al-Badr. I am a graduate of Sheridan College. I am an ESL teacher and a certified community interpreter in Canada. My story in teaching English started a long time ago when I used to help my neighbors and sisters doing their English language assignments while I was in high school. And I found myself driven to get a degree in English and Spanish literature later on. And then I discovered that I have a passion for teaching English. And moving to Canada, I decided that I should learn more about teaching English. So I attended the TESOL Plus program at Sheridan, and I graduated last June. And my passion to teaching English and discovering cultures was at its utmost when I started teaching ESL students long time ago. Um, the experience I had in the COIL program was magnificent. And I know that we will be talking about this more in details, but what I wanted to say is that I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And I hope if there would be another opportunity in the near future, I would gladly repeat it. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Margaret, I know that you're a bit under the weather. Could you give us a brief introduction, please?
Good morning, everybody. Unfortunately or fortunately enough, it's night time in Africa. So it's like 8 p.m. my time. So I guess good evening to me. My name is Margaret Merab. I am a final year student at Sheridan University. I am partaking an undergraduate degree in business and information technology. Currently, I am an intern at an organization known as Msomi Innovation, and what I majorly do for that organization is business development and the CRM bit of it. However, once I complete school, I I fortunately or unfortunately do not see myself proceeding with the business aspect of my course. I am more engraved into the IT bit of it, and I am definitely more than grateful to have had a COIL experience with Sheridan students. It was seamless, and I guess that was the best experience for me because that was the first class we ever had that was an international class. We've never had any other like that since I joined my university in first year. And I guess I'll speak about the rest as we go on.
Thank you very much, Margaret. Reese, please, and welcome.
And thank you, Stan. Hi, everyone. So my name is Reese. I'm currently a second year multimedia journalism student at Manchester Metropolitan University. I started late in life at university and education, so I'm now 32. And last year, obviously, post-COVID, in the midst of it all, my introduction to education was predominantly online via webcams and things like that. So I didn't get a great opportunity to come out of my comfort zone. So I did find that partaking in the COIL experience and around the loneliness project was really interesting because it gave me a chance to reach out and experience things that I wasn't able to do in the basic classes that we had. Hopefully, with those things that I've learned, I'm now a bit more comfortable in partaking in these group activities. I'm hoping to expand and hopefully look forward to doing more with COIL experiences in the future.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. Thank you to each and every one of you for those introductions. As I listened to them, I was just absolutely in awe of how technology and opportunity has melded to give each and every one of you something of a unique experience in a very chaotic time. And that's one of the marvelous aspects of COIL, is that it bridges discomfort to potential opportunity. And we are excited to work with all of our partners that are represented. And we are excited to continue to grow a student base that's enriched by this kind of learning. I'd like to take the time now to briefly bring forward a number of themes that we are challenged with, but also respond to when it comes to COIL. One of my first questions is, before this most recent collaboration that you've experienced, were you aware of this vehicle called COIL? And I'll open it up, and whoever wishes to take the lead, please do.
So it was my first experience with COIL, and it was also the first time I was aware that such opportunities existed and how important they are to our formation as international citizens.
Reese, what about yourself? Did you happen to know that this kind of international interaction was possible?
No, I didn't actually, funny enough. So similar, it was my first experience. It was only brought to my attention by one of the lecturers at university. Sent out an email and said, would anyone like to participate? And initially I was hesitant, as a lot of students would be, the uncertainties, but once I spoke with the tutor, researched a little bit of what it entailed, it was good. It was good fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Vice or Margaret?
Yes.
This okay,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Okay. This was a first-time experience for students at Sierra University, most especially those taking the business ethics class. We definitely knew that such a thing was possible, but we'd never had interaction with international students or generally just other students from other countries. And I remember the first time when Mr. Zephania, our lecturer, mentioned it to us. My fellow students were very adamant about it. Everybody kept questioning, like, how are we going to be able to do this with other students in another country? We have different time zones. How is this going to be possible for us? And yeah, it was a great learning experience, and it was a first time for most of us.
Fabulous. Vice?
So the COIL concept was new for me. However, I think it was an inspiring experience of sharing thoughts and opinions about cultural issues with other students from a different part of the world. So I've taken COIL as a part of my language learning and culture course. Our prof, Hisang, who's here today, and I say hi, Hisang. It was amazing to see you again after all that time. And thank you for the opportunity. So that collaboration was driven by a sense of curiosity about knowing who those students were who come from the other part of the world, and but mainly how they envision and interpret culture according to their own understanding and experiences. So it was new, but it was a very rich experience to me.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And certainly, as we've learned as educators, COIL has been around for a number of years, but in the past, a lot of internationalization was driven by mobility. Technology and the growth of being able to bridge what COVID handed to us has provided quite the tool that is being captured by more and more post-secondary institutions. So I'm not surprised that in some cases it was more unfamiliar, but it now has become part of our conversation, and it is part of the internationalization effort. My next question looks at how culturally aware would you have judged yourself in terms of, you know, international attitudes, perspectives prior to COIL? And then how did things change over the course of the weeks that you were involved in a COIL? Again, it's open to anyone who would like to lead.
So, in Brazil, even though Brazil is a multicultural country, students here, especially where I'm from the middle of Brazil. We don't have beaches here. There is no Amazon rainforest, and it's not a very tourist place per se. We don't have that many internationalization opportunities. My university, even though it's the third biggest in Brazil, doesn't have that many opportunities for international students. What makes it difficult for us to have such connections? But recently, my university has started offering a minor in international studies, which has classes completely in English or Spanish, which has the aim of attracting more international students to UFMG. So I decided to pursue this minor with with the intention of having international experiences, but in order to prepare myself for those. And when the first course I took was a course that employed COIL techniques, and it has substantially increased my cultural sensitivity and my awareness of other cultures, especially in learning new languages. For me, it was always obvious the reason why English was so dominant. And once I was having a discussion with a student from Sri Lanka, and I said, English is very easy because the grammar is so simple. And she said, English is easier for you because you speak a Romance language. English is not easy for people that use different alphabets, for people that have different mother tongues. And for that reason, it has also changed my perspective as an English teacher, as an ESL teacher. So now I consider myself much more culturally aware of how difficulties can arise even in the teaching context.
Thank you. Anyone like to add to the question as to, how aware you were and how it may have changed your cultural awareness?
One thing I'll just state myself from my experiences is that I always perceive myself as being somewhat culturally aware, but it's only once you start getting into these collaborations and speaking directly with these people that you realize that things that you read or see on TV may not always be factual, or it may not be the general opinion or individual's opinion. So my piece that I collaborated on around loneliness, I perceived certain areas in the world, Canada, for example, to be quite lively, quite happy most of the time. But it's only after speaking with some Canadian students that finding out that a lot of the difficulties that you face in other areas of the world, such as the UK, can be replicated and mirrored across the world. And it's only because of these experiences of meeting people online and talking to them that now I've become more culturally aware that we are all collectively one.
Brilliant, thank you. Mike?
I just wanted to say that you will never know that you don't know until you know it. So for me as an ESL teacher, I thought that I always know. I'm aware of the cultural, I have enough amount of cultural awareness. I didn't know that there is still much more to know. And what I'm pointing to here is that knowledge is the key. So if we keep learning all the time, we will get to the point that, okay, I knew that, but there's still something more to know. And this is the beauty of the cultural awareness, because as much as you learn about cultures, you realize that there's still something more to learn. And the COIL experience offered me that broad vision of understanding cultures and being more aware of it and how to apply that in my ESL classroom environment.
Thank you very much. Margaret, would you like to add anything?
Before the COIL class, I would rate my cultural awareness on a scale of 0 to 10. I'd say at 3, because I believe I was confined to my geographical borders, whereby I just knew so much about Kenya as a country and the Kenyan culture, and maybe, let's say, to some extent the East African parts, because I am not culturally aware of other parts of Africa. But then after the COIL class, I'd say maybe my cultural awareness is currently at a scale of 6 or 7, because it's through this learning that I got to experience what students from other countries do differently from us, what they think so different from us. And I think one thing that that stood out for me during the COIL classes was the fact that Sheridan students are they're very outgoing. They're not like, they don't fear to put their thoughts out there, unlike us when it comes to maybe a question and answer moment, and when the teacher poses a question, then students will just go mum. When we had a COIL class, when either the lecturer from Riara University or Professor Wayland would ask a question, it was always the Sheridan students answering the questions. And I guess that for me made me become self-aware in some way and changed my perspective about these classes. And I guess I gained confidence from these COIL classes as well.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. One of the themes that I stitched together from those most recent comments was this whole idea of enlightening curiosity. You know, the curiosity to learn more or to go beyond what you thought previously. This whole idea of having biases or perceptions seems to provide an end of a journey, when in fact, when you explore and are more curious, you find that beyond what you thought was a barrier was even more awareness. And I really do celebrate what I heard from each of you in terms of the fact that you moved further along in this awareness, this journey of understanding. And that's one of the key takeaways that we as educators have in developing programs, is to develop COIL programs that bring the student on this path of greater discovery. And so I'm very pleased to hear that. And it is a foundation of what COIL has to offer. If you look at, and this is the next question that I want you to explore, if you look at the COIL exercise within the context of your entire 14 or 15-week semester, how did this COIL 3, 4, 5-week exercise, you know, reposition what you got out of the course?
I'll just say that with me taking a journalistic course, obviously any experience I have with writing is always going to be a benefit. So having another opportunity to partake in creating something that's going to be shared and published online and read by not only people from my university, but from numerous universities around the world was quite exciting. I'm surprised that, I don't know if ours took 5 weeks. It didn't feel that long. It was just fun. Like, it didn't feel like it was a chore. It felt like it was just a part of the course. You get home from university, it take 5-10 minutes to just sit down and start writing again. But it definitely helped me practice, which was the main purpose of it. And also it's expanded my portfolio, which is also a plus. Now my portfolio has something extra, and it has tied names to it from other universities from around the world as well, which is really exciting.
Very good. One of the
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
So for me, my course in my university was divided into parts. The first part, we had to present and watch seminars about the importance of English and the use of English and its impacts on culture and on different cultures. And it discussed a lot about the sociology of it and how it impacts, especially our culture, Brazilian culture. So when we had the second part of the course, where we could see it from a different perspective, a perspective of other international students, and see this in practice, and also realize that experiences are not the same worldwide, it was an amazing experience. So it added to what we had seen. In theory, we could see it in practice. It was a great experience.
Mice, did you have something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, so our course in learning language and culture had two synchronous classes with the students in Brazil. And although the time of period was short, I mean, like we had only 2 hours in two synchronous classes, but we got to have rich discussions about different topics in learning English and culture. And it just added a lot. It enriched the whole lesson. And I personally learned something from our profs who hosted the synchronous classes, how to manage international or globalized learning environments and keep everything going smoothly with two different time zones, with two different cultures, let's say, although in Canada we have multicultural students. But all in all, it was an amazing experience for me on a personal level and on the professional level too.
Thank you. Margaret, a final comment from you on that subject?
I guess similar to May's class, we had two classes only for the business ethics class. And on one class, we had Professor Wayland take us through the ethics of manufacturing offshore to take advantage of low labor costs. And on the second class, we had Mr. Zephania from Riara University, who taught us the use of artificial intelligence in smartphone apps to provide small consumer loans. And I guess that added so much to our knowledge. We became more aware of how companies actually go to manufacture in Pakistan, China, and those other countries, and probably people underpay them. And I guess what Professor Wayland taught us, he just didn't teach us about Canada and the Canadian manufacturing market. He taught us about other countries as well, and he taught us about the organizations that equally go to outsource their labor in other countries. And I believe that was a rich experience for Riara University students.
Lovely, thank you. I've had some students reach out to me saying that they found that the COIL element, almost like the course was on Red Bull at that time, because there was a lot of energy. And it was important because during the course of a semester, we try and find those opportunities within the 14, 15-week semester that charges the student to really focus on something new. And the novelty of a COIL experience really has given them greater curiosity and energy for that period of time that sustain them for the balance of the semester. Out of curiosity, did the COIL experience match or exceed your expectations from the moment you thought about what was going to happen to the time that it concluded?
If I may start, to be honest, I had never expected this course to be or to go in the same way it went. I was at the beginning, I had my doubts about how can we do it? How can we just be in the same classroom, virtual classroom from different parts of the world? But as the time went by, I realized how great this experience it is and how lovely if it will happen again. I just thought that we had the chance to do it once during my program, but it would be amazing if we have, let's say, 2 of these programs during the courses. It went beyond my expectations. I ended up learning a lot, and the course just it added a lot to a lot of value to the course itself. For me, from a personal perspective, I enjoyed it to the maximum, and I hope that we could have more opportunities like this in the future too.
I agree, and well, I was part of the same course as Mace, and at the beginning, I was excited, but I also didn't know how we were going to manage and our expectations and also the course. So I had a lot of preconceived ideas of what I thought the experience was going to be, and they were exceeded. So I was very happy to not only learn about English as a second language, but also about the individuals that I shared these 2 weeks with. So our first activity was a mural in which we could post videos introducing ourselves. And it was so nice to see all of these people from Brazil and also from other parts of the world, and especially those studying in Canada. And we could connect on a deeper level. So some people would say, I'm a foodie. And then we would comment, and what are the typical dishes in your region? So this was something that I did not expect was going to happen. And it was something so fun, and I just wanted to keep doing that. Like Reese said, it didn't feel like a chore. It was just something nice that we were doing. So it was nice.
I'll say as well, similar to the two there. My expectations were relatively high, but for me it was just purely down to the fact that I didn't know what to expect. I'd never heard of COIL before, as I said earlier. I just went in hoping for the best. But as Laura just said at the start of our project, we were all asked to describe what loneliness meant to ourselves, and it was at that point then when everyone collaboratively put pieces together, and we watched them back that I realised that it was going to be a bit more advanced than I previously expected. But even throughout the process, I was heavily focused on my work and then working collaboratively with some of the students on other pieces. But it was only at the very final hurdle when it started to come together that I realised that it was actually really well done and really well organised, and did look very professional in my opinion in the end as well. So it definitely exceeded expectations, and I didn't know what to expect. It ended up being very good.
Excellent. Margaret?
I'd say my expectations were exceeded for this COIL experience, because when we started out with an introduce yourself section whereby students from both schools were introducing themselves. Then we had to say whatever we liked doing during our free time and our best meals. So from that introduce yourself, I got to learn a few things and a few meals that people do love that are not available in Africa. And the next section was whereby we had a class with Professor Wayland. Then after the class, we had to do a group discussion. I didn't really know how we would have done that group discussion. I didn't think it was going to be possible. And we were in each and every group, there were like 3 Riara University students and 1 Sheridan College student. So for us, I didn't really know how this was going to work for us. And this was a group discussion whereby we were going to be awarded marks, and these marks are going to be were going to contribute to our final grades. But this was made possible by collaboration between the African students and the Canadian students, as well as the lecturers. And I'd say the experience was seamless. In my opinion, it was very seamless. We didn't have connectivity issues on any day. We didn't have delays with setting up of the link. Everything was ready on time for each and every one of us, and the experience was great.
Thank you very much, Margaret. When I hear the comments of the last few moments, I think about this breaking down the barriers through comfort. You know, these icebreaker exercises that try and make people feel comfortable with themselves and their partners and their teammates or group mates helps facilitate, I think, the growth in the experience. And I did hear that, you know, once you shared something, you take away a little bit of the mask or the caution, and you can come a little bit more comfortably into the next phases of what your exercise is, what your project is, what your case is. And when you do that, that's a very important part of your cross-cultural understanding, is becoming calm and comfortable. And that's certainly what I heard, in terms of what Laura was saying, and Mace, what you were saying, and Reese, in terms of communicating, this whole idea of being able to, prepare your information through the lens of not only how you see it, but having the empathy to understand how the other side will read it and interpret it. Thanks again to each and every one of you for talking about the impact that it's had from what you thought to what you ended up with. Networking is a really important part of what we see in COIL. Networking with peers, networking with institution and academics. Did you find that your COIL experience brought you into a greater community that will serve you in the future?
So my experience around networking was heavily focused on, I remember a Sheridan called Soma. I believe she's a lecturer. But the regards to networking, what I found was once the walls are broken down when we're comfortable, we were able to dialect and talk via like WhatsApp and bounce ideas off one another. We've since the project spoken repeatedly. We said we're going to add each other on social apps and video games consoles, devices, which is what my piece was around. But it's not just the networking that I gained from people outside of my university. It also helped me network with the lecturers in my own university. My own tutor, I may not have spoke to them privately about certain things or asked for advice. But this lecturer who put me forward for this project had a project later on down the line, which I also took part on, because this project allowed me to break down those barriers and walls of this like comfort that I may have had previously. So my networking's definitely improved twofold, but to go out there a little bit more now, I think.
So talking about networking, now during the course, we had to have discussions with each other on a platform called Edmodo, discussing language learning and cultural issues. We did this networking all through the course very well. We communicated. We even did a couple of assignments together as Sheridan students and the UFMG students. The thing is that unfortunately we didn't have the chance to expand this networking beyond the course. So once the course ended, everyone just went back to their normal lives. And maybe this is something we need to work on, how we can expand this networking and enhance those channels of communication between the students after the courses or after graduation. I just wanted to highlight this because it just, I have this idea about how to work hard on this and communicate with students even after that. So like growing friendships maybe, or work relationships. So yeah, I thought that would be an idea too.
Yeah, I agree with Mace, and I think though it was, like I said before, an amazing experience to get to know other people and learn about their interests. Unfortunately, I did not keep in touch with my peers, and though it was also a good opportunity for me to get to know more people from my own university. As I said before, I study biology, and normally people who take the international studies course and minor, they are not from the same field as me. So it was a good opportunity to get to know people from other undergraduate courses in my university. But unfortunately, we didn't keep this connection after the course ended. So I agree that this is something we need to work on if we want to build networks and strong connections at the end of COIL experiences.
I like that idea. It's almost something like an alumni of COILers. You know, you've got some sort of a platform that you know is a basket of individuals, and not only just the ones that you experience COIL with, but much like we're experiencing right now, unrelated disciplines. Just this whole idea that you've all walked a bit of a path that has been unique. And if we can find some way of building that, I think that it might speak to what you were saying is make it a foundation of your takeaway, that you've got suddenly this community that you can reach out to. Thank you very much for those points. That's excellent. Margaret, did you have anything that you wanted to add about the networking?
No, I didn't have anything.
Oh, thank you. So, you know, when we look at these series of themes and questions, where I'm trying to go is to continue to sort of draw out the student experience. As a COIL experience, did it help shape the way that you communicate with other students in other countries, in other cultures? There was a comment that was made by Laura right at the outset, something about a feedback from a colleague or a peer that said, that's not the way I interpret it. How has that kind of experience helped you in your communication skills?
So I think that now I have the perspective that even though I come from a country in the global south, my country and my visions are still very much based in Eurocentric vision of world, of language, and of culture. So the way I saw things was, and still is, permeated by these views. But I think that now with this experience, I have a new understanding and a deeper understanding that these experiences do not replicate to people from countries that do not have, for example, Romance languages or that were not colonized by European countries.
I would say the key answer to this is awareness, cultural awareness, how much you're aware of the existence of other cultures. And it is more about individual work. So I am as an ESL teacher who handles or manages ESL classes with students from different backgrounds and different cultural backgrounds. How much I work on myself to improve my cultural awareness and serve the goals of my students. And this is the key. So if I just don't want to be open to new ideas and to new concepts and to learn more about where my students come from and learn how to respect them and give them the space they need to ease their learning process in the classroom, then I don't think my classroom is going to be, or my lesson is going to be successful. So it is again about the individual awareness of the culture around the different cultures around them, and how to handle cultural issues that may arise around them.
Sometimes I look at what I'm hearing. I look at it from the perspective that from time to time, we have to catch our breath. We have to catch our breath from the point of view of giving a bit of opportunity to capture the difference of the situation we find ourselves in. And that embraces, catching our breath about culture, not presuming and not moving quickly forward on our agenda or interpretation of things, but to scan, to build what you notice into how you act or comment going forward. That seems to be a theme that I hear in terms of it's a learning, it's an awareness, and it's a question of how we use that awareness going forward. And when I look at, Reese, the work that you'll be doing in journalism, communication, the voice that comes from the words that you compose, is going to be an important one. Did you find that you have changed how calm or considerate you are in terms of that creation of the words to communicate?
Yeah, probably. As you just stated yourself, when you work collaboratively with people from across the world and different cultures, you do have to have a greater understanding, and that their opinions and their beliefs are going to be very different from your own. There was an example during our project around the piece that I wrote, which was video gaming and how it affected loneliness and how people use it to combat it, etc., etc. And there was a moment, a very brief moment, where there was not an argument as such, but there's a moment where there was a disagreement between myself and one of the Sheridan students, just because we had different beliefs and different opinions on such a matter. And it was only at that point that I realised I had to take a step back and breathe and just go, at the end of the day, these people are going to have different opinions for whatever reason. So I've just got to learn to listen to that person, digest what they are saying, and then interpret it and establish like a response back to them. Communications wise, a lot of mine was done via email and WhatsApp and things, which obviously, if you're using text, written text, can be very easily misconstrued. You don't know how the person's going to read it or take it. So I learned to speak in a certain manner that was, what's the word? Not heavily opinionated, quite generalization, like a general opinion on the matter, and then just get back from the other person things that I wanted to get into the piece myself, and then work together that way. So it's all about mostly about listening and just go from there.
I like the word listening. The calm of hearing is one perspective. It's the listening. Hearing is noise. Listening is interpretation. I thought that was really well said, and certainly to the point where we use technology to communicate across cultures. And the way that one would communicate using, abbreviated communication has to be thought of in terms of its impact on the other end. So thank you very much for sharing that. One of the final questions I've got as part of this general discussion is, how has the COIL experience pushed you out of your comfort zone? You know who you were before. What are you now?
So one of the issues I had at the beginning of the course is taking a video of myself introducing myself for 3 minutes. And that was a requirement for starting the course. And then we have to post that video on the platform we shared with the students from Brazil. I had a difficulty really watching myself and listening to myself speaking in a video. And those 3 minutes took me 3 days to videotape the whole thing and write a script even, because I find it really hard. This pushed me out of my comfort zone because, as I said, I hated it. But as we went through the course slowly, I found it a little bit easier. First of all, I learned a little bit more about technology, and that made me really more comfortable. And then I found it nice because my colleagues from Brazil were able to see and hear me before I even started talking in the class. And that gives a nice idea about who you are before you start. I didn't regret it, but as I said, it took me, first of all, the decision was hard. I can't just take a video of myself talking and even teaching, because we had to watch the video recordings of us as a teachers, but that was very hard for me. But at the end of the course, I felt that it's easy. I felt more comfortable as the students replied to my video and they said hi to me. I felt that it's okay. I did it, and that's it. One last thing I want to talk about some of the difficulties we had during this course. So for us in TESOL program, our course was fast-paced, and we had a lot of things to finish in a very short period of time. We were in the middle of the course while the students in Brazil were almost at the end of their course, and they were finalizing their assignments and getting ready for their tests. And that was a little bit hard to communicate with them. We had an assignment, a shared assignment with them. We were waiting for them to add something to the discussion board. And I hated waiting at that time because I had a lot to finish. But we managed. We learned that we should wait. We should really understand how they work differently, from us. And at the end of the course, I appreciated every single thing we did. And I hope that was the same with you, Laura.
Yeah, I understand your point, and I agree. It was difficult because not only, as you said, we were in different points of the course, but also there are cultural differences on how we approach things like projects. And we did have a transnational project that was composed, that the groups were composed of both Brazilian and Sheridan College students. So it was a bit difficult. This was something that pushed me out of my comfort zone to communicate and to find common ground about how and what to write about in this transnational project. But it was also worth it because as we discussed and we found more common ground, we have learned not only about the topic we were talking about, but also a lot of transferable skills in terms of communication and also about how to present yourself in the face of these kinds of challenges. But overall, it was an amazing opportunity both to learn from the topic we were discussing and also about how to cooperate with individuals from different cultures that have different time zones, that have different obligations. So it was a great opportunity.
I'd probably just say, sorry, from my own experiences as a aspiring journalist. I do like to think that my opinion on certain matters holds some kind of weight. And what I found when I was pushed out of my comfort zone was when people were combating me and saying, "Well, this could be perceived like this," etc., etc. And I found that the COIL experience definitely helped because I had the input from loads of people, various people. Soma again, giving her input and helping me find evidence to support these opinions and facts that claims I was trying to make. So I think having a voice from other people that aren't close to you, like they're not your friends, your family, the people that you're collaborating with, having their voice and their opinion adds more to the pieces and the experience that you make, for sure.
Thank you. Margaret, what about your comfort zone?
One way that this COIL experience pushed me out of my comfort zone was in terms of confidence. Just like Maze, before I'd not sit before a camera and speak to people or participate during class sessions, because back then I always believed that I am so much into programming. I love my computer so much. So I always believed that my interaction will just be limited to me and my computer. But during this COIL experience, I had to be pushed out of my comfort zone when we had to do an experience video. Each and every student had to do a short video explaining how their experience was for this COIL thing. And for me, that was very difficult. It was supposed to be a 5-minute video, but I guess I did it for like the entire day, whereby I had to keep on cutting, and I had to start over. And the worst part for us, I guess, is we were not recording the videos on our own at home. We had the journalists in school, the journalism students in school were the ones who were recording the videos, our videos now. And I guess another way it also pushed me out of my comfort zone is that I had to realize that um, not each and every person communicates the way I think that they do. Because let's say like in Africa, okay, not in Africa, in Kenya, we have kind of formalized rudeness to each other, like among our peers, whereby if I want you to complete the assignment on time, I just subtly throw insults to you and ask you where is the assignment. But I realized that when I'm now working with students from other countries, I can't be rude to them and expect them to do the work. I had to be polite, be very patient, because I believe my patience was really tested during this experience. Because one time we were supposed to be submitting an assignment at 11:59 p.m. our time. So the Sheridan student, I guess, he either didn't work out the conversion times or something like that. So he didn't finish his part of the assignment on time. So everybody in the group went blowing all up. Everybody was sending messages asking him, "Where is your work? You know, we are supposed to be submitting this at this time." And it was quite difficult. So when at that time, apparently he had no, I guess he was just from a class, so he hadn't even seen our text, but he had done his part of the assignment. What was just left was sending us his part of the assignment. So I believe my patience was also put to test during this COIL experience. And I believe now I am able to communicate with other students in a better way, in a more prudent way than whatever I am used to here, whereby we just say, "Hi, where's the assignment? Send me the assignment by tonight." I don't know what time. And we are threatening each other all over here. And yeah, difference in culture. Yeah, I guess that's basically cultural awareness. And that was my experience. And I'd love to have more of this, honestly.
Thank you very much, Margaret. As I listen to this whole subject of comfort zone, I'm reminded that we live in a world that can't allow us to remain in a comfort zone. If we're going to be creative, if we're going to be successful in making an effect on every aspect that we touch in terms of our careers or as students, we need to be alert to the fact that our comfort zones need to be like an accordion. You need to keep stretching it out, because sometimes the music that you get when the accordion is extended is much more impressive than when it's in its restricted mode. So this whole idea of comfort zone testing is an important part of our life skills. And I agree with you that it's sometimes challenging. Sometimes is it innovative and creative? Yes. But it's a question of being able to move out of it. It takes me now to a number of questions I've got from the audience that I'd like to pose to you. One of them is, how important is the teaming exercise in a COIL experience? Having group-related activities, how important is that?
It is extremely important. We had, as I said, first of all, we had a platform for us to, for the discussion. We also had posted some videos, like introductory videos about ourselves. We also had I think, a couple of assignments at that time where we had to work together on the discussion board and then come up with our own ideas. So the concept out of COIL is collaboration, is working together. So you might be allowed to do a part of the job on your own, but the main goal is to work as a team. So I would rate this as an extremely important. And we should have also the skills of how to work within a team, how to function as an effective individual in a team. And this is another important issue here.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about the importance of teaming? Really, another segue to another aspect that I want to pursue. Question comes, how long of an experience is a good length of time for COIL? Do you think 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 6 weeks is an ideal amount of time from which to get the fullest experience possible?
I think it really depends on the scope of the course at hand and also on the availability of the student. So I think it would be nice to have a longer course and more collaboration classes, but our semester in Brazil ends in a different period as the semesters in Canada. So our school year here is from February to December. And I know that in many parts of the world, the school year starts in September, right? So as May said, this might cause some differences. So when we are ending the semester, other students are starting one, and this might cause some difficulties. But I think the 2 weeks I had were very fruitful, and they helped me understand a lot. I wish it could have been longer, but I understand that these technical difficulties might impact the duration of these collaborations.
It's certainly something. Research. Do you have a thought about duration? Did you find the length of your activity to be too short or too long?
I think, as I said earlier, it didn't feel like 5 weeks. It felt like 3 days. Not because it was condensed and it felt like there was a lot going on, just more because I guess say time flies when you're having fun. So it was of my entire academic year, writing this piece with COIL was probably my most favourite because it was something that I was passionate about, something that I curated along with the fellow COIL students. 5 weeks was probably too short, to be fair, because it didn't really give a great deal of time to have those conversations, converse back and forth. So towards the end, it was kind of a case of, this is what I'm going to do and get it done. So arguably probably longer if possible, just to give people that time to get comfortable with one another, share opinions and thoughts, get some drafts down, and then work on the piece collaboratively, I think.
I like the fact that extending the experience is helpful, and maybe while the timing makes it a challenge between semesters that aren't necessarily aligned, might suggest that COIL has a role in successive years. You know, some COIL activities in first year, second year, third year, so that you can scaffold that experience to benefit the student over a longer period of time. Because I think that one of the other questions I see is COIL better suited for a first year, second year student, or is it more ideally suited for a third or fourth year student?
I think that in both cases, the student has a lot to learn on COIL activities. So if you are towards the end of your undergraduate course, of course, you will have more knowledge about the area at hand, and you might be better able to apply it to the topics at hand. But on the other hand, if you have COIL experiences in the beginning of the course, they might arise interest in new areas. They might give you a spark and make you understand that, and make you even find your path in your undergraduate course. So I think both experiences are fruitful, and even though mine was towards the end of the course, I think that if I had a COIL experience in the beginning of the course, I would still have enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thank you. One final thought that I've got, when you look at COIL, you see it as being as vital in terms of a global experience as study abroad mobility would be? Or do you think it's complementary?
So I think those experiences are complementary. I have never had a experience with mobility in my university, but I have taken a course on Ireland before on English, and it was a very fruitful opportunity. We also had to deal with a lot of cultural differences. One thing that comes to mind to me was on gestures, so hand gestures. I am a teacher in Brazil, and our culture requires that we make a lot of gestures all the time. And I stayed in a house of an Irish family, in a host family, and all of the time I was doing like this. And in Brazil, if you are saying no to someone, you just do no. But my host mother, she politely told me that if you do this, it seems like you are scolding someone if you do this in Ireland. And she said, I am not offended. I have experience with this, but other people might be very offended if you do this kind of things. And this is the kind of thing that you only learn if you live in the place, this kind of awareness and body language and a lot of other experiences as well, such as food you get to try, and also connect with people that wouldn't have access to internet in especially if you live in a place like Brazil, where a large part of the population doesn't have access to the internet. So it would give, for example, Sheridan students or students from countries that have better access to internet the opportunity to connect with people they wouldn't have a chance to otherwise.
Excellent. Thank you very much to each and every one of you for contributing over this past hour and a half in a very vibrant, very honest and fruitful discussion about your experiences. We've benefited from hearing from you. It's part of what drives us as educators and administrators to continue to find brand new approaches to increasing that cultural awareness. You've shared with us, your experiences. It underscores the value that's contributed through a COIL experience. We look at how, your COIL exercises have triggered a greater understanding, greater curiosity, and hopefully an application of the learnings that you've taken away from it. You've moved us on the meter to improve and continue to stress new and innovative ways of bringing cultural awareness into our classes. We're lucky to be open-minded, to have the support of things and groups such as the GSO and CCAN in funding these ambitious and very fruitful opportunities for our students. I want to thank you again for what you've shared with us, the experiences that you've taken away, and hopefully the product that you can enjoy and apply in the years to come. On behalf of Sheridan and our International Education Week, thanks a lot, and I wish you the very best. To our audience, thank you very much for tuning in over the past hour and a half, and we look forward to your attendance at a future webinar as we explore COIL. Final comments, guys, as we part ways?
I would like to thank Sheridan College very much, both for the opportunity to have a COIL experience in my class, and also for the opportunity to share my experience with other people. And I would recommend for everyone and anyone that has an opportunity to participate in a COIL experience to do it. And you might have doubts at the beginning, it might push you out of your comfort zone, but I think it's a very enriching experience that will stay with you for years to come and also help you be a better professional regardless of the area you choose to work in. So thank you very much, Sven, and to the audience too, and that's it.
And from me also, a big thank you to everyone who organized this webinar, Lana, and thank you, Hisang, for recommending me. To sum up, I just wanted to say that this collaboration can be tagged as unique, not only because of the concept itself, but also of the value it carried within its topics covered and even the students themselves. It was a pleasure being here today. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Stan, and I hope we can just have more webinars and more collaboration in the future. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you as well. Everything that's just been said, I agree with entirely. It's been a great experience. I'm really happy to have the piece on my portfolio, so thank you for that. And thank you for inviting me today to talk about the experience and share.
Thank you very much, everyone. Stay safe, and let's continue to grow our cultural awareness. Thank you.